Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another live Q&A call on Golf Industry Guru. I am your host, James Cronk. Behind the computer, doing all the technical stuff, is Scott Massey, and we are thrilled that you are joining us either live in person or watching recording of this episode because we've got a fantastic guest for you today here on August 26th. On this month's live Q&A call. You know, golf is a global industry and a global game, and you know that. But what you might not know is that there's opportunities for you. If you work in the club business, if you are working in any country really, the reality is that there are jobs and opportunities and experiences that might await you in other parts of the world, that sometimes we don't look beyond our own neighborhood. And we're thrilled to have on our call today a gentleman named John Blanch. And many of you would recognize John's name. He's been in the business for 30 plus years, is now the general manager of Loch, Lomond. I met John when I was in Asia speaking at a conference many years ago when he was at the Thai Country Club. And one of the things that fascinates me about people like John is the experiences that they have seen in their lives and in their career. And once again, the globalization of this great game and working in this great industry. So without further ado, I've got some questions for our guest, and let's bring him on, Mr. John Blanch. John, welcome to today's live Q&A call. Thank you so much. And I know my very first question, John, is like, what in the world is behind you? Where are you sitting, sir?
Okay, I'm James. Good evening, or good evening from Scotland. We're in the evening here, so good afternoon to everyone in North America. I'm sitting in the library at Loch Lomond Golf Club. The clubhouse is 250 years old. I'm sitting the library, so I have a bookcase behind me. We've got some books in there. We have the books directly behind me. Are editions from the cases in the House of Lords. I'm looking at one that says 1787 to 1790. So these books came with the house. As you can probably tell by the lighting, the house and the room I'm in are over 250 years old. I think the lighting compared to yours looks like it's 250 years old.
They weren't thinking about podcasts back then, 250
They weren't,
years ago,
no,
John.
Definitely not.
But we can see you, we can hear you. It's so great to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. And as I mentioned a little bit in my intro, John, you've had such an amazing journey so far. Not stop now. It's still so far an amazing journey in the world of golf. And share with our listeners, if you'd be so kind, just and take your time. Share with our listeners about some of the stops along the way, how you got in the business. I actually have a question for you. Did you work at East Sussex back in the day?
No, I didn't, but I did play there. I know it very well.
Yes, I remember seeing a reference to that somewhere.
It was opening up when I was an assistant professional, and I know the people who built it, the Canadian family who built it. I also know he was a Canadian who built it, Ken Seams.
Yes.
Ken Seams was the first superintendent there, and Ken is part of my life because I met Ken in China, and we worked together when I was with the IMG. He was managing a golf course, building Jack Nicklaus golf course in the outbacks of China. So we met again, and then I met him when I came back to the UK at Wentworth. So
what got you into this great industry, and what got you into this journey path of you visiting so many facilities over time?
Countries. Well, what got me into this was a passion for golf. I love golf. I think like all of us, we get into golf because we have that love of golf. And as I say to everyone, I've never worked a day in my life.
Right.
I'm doing something I enjoy. I could be here till midnight talking about golf, and it never stops. And I feel blessed. The journey I'm on, was never planned. I look back on it, and in fact, as we'll get onto it a bit later, but when I came back to the UK after having spent 30 years outside of the country, it wasn't until I did that that I realized, wow, I've done quite a lot here.
Right. Yes.
A lot. There's
Yes.
more to learn, but what I've learned has stood me in good stead and has attracted, obviously, when I came back to the UK, Wentworth and Loch Lomond Golf Club, two wonderful places.
Well,
So-
two amazing places, and you know, prior to that, you were in Asia obviously for many, many years, and with IMG, you know, a significant force and management company in particular in Asia and other parts of the world. For those people in North America that might not be familiar with the IMG side of club management and consulting and stuff like that, but you know, and you've been involved in elite clubs, John. Like, what have you learned, I guess, in what's consistent and the same about world-class service, but also, you know, how are things different from a culture standpoint when you go from the UK to Asia or back again, or and I guess what I want to keep driving today about leading clubs and managing clubs. Like, our audience are going to be GMs and CEOs and managers of clubs, or up and coming managers or superintendents or executive chefs of clubs. And one of the things that I would love our audience to kind of take from today's call is some of the nuances and the opportunities of working around the globe. And so what's your experience with that, John?
Yeah, I think for world-class member service, and going back to what you were saying, they're all different, these countries. So in every country is different, and you need to find out what that means, what it means. Don't necessarily take what you think as being the world-class standard or service and take it to Vietnam and think, oh, well, I know best. Golf was invented in the UK. We've been doing it for centuries and centuries. So you have to learn who your audience is, who your members are. And then the one thread that goes through it all is the one thing that we have in golf is we can deliver a personalized service. But when I say personalized, it's not just knowing someone's name, it's being able to do it with a passion. Hotels have to follow a generic, as it is, the more they're getting, a very generic style of service, and they call it putting on white gloves and everything else they do. But in a golf club, the thing that we can do is make that personalized and make it come from our hearts and put in stories. We know what the people, they're members of our club, so we know what they do, we know their golf, we know what their likes, the dislikes is. When in a hotel, you don't have that information when they walk in the door. Yes, you may have some information they stayed at a sister hotel, but in a golf club, we truly have the chance of delivering something personalized to that person. Get to know your members. Get to know, because what is world-class to one is different to what is world-class to another, especially when I was in Asia. When I was first in Vietnam, we had very few Vietnamese members. In those days, it was 1995. There was only probably 3 Vietnamese who were allowed to play golf
Wow.
because they weren't allowed to flaunt their wealth.
Right.
There's probably quite a few who could. They weren't allowed to play golf. So the golf scene there was Korean, there was Japanese, Filipino, there was Taiwanese, and there was Chinese in the golf club. So for each one of those cultures, service is totally different. It's actually learning what they like and personalizing it to them and doing it with a smile and showing your heart. Asians love you to show your heart, even if you make mistakes, and there'll always be mistakes. As long as you're truthful, you're smiling, they'll love you.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, what I took from that as well, you just talking about it, I think it's evident in our next question, which has to do with about habits, because so much of what you're talking about is making sure that we're out talking with people, right? And that we're out, you know, we're not behind the desk. You know, it's so difficult as a GM, as an operator, as a manager, to not get inundated and piled on with the emails and the paperwork and the invoice, you know. And, you know, we talk about technology making us more efficient. I'm not sure if technology is making us more efficient right now, or if it's, making us more inundated. But, are there some habits that, you start off with, in the very beginning? And I guess I would ask this question that I always ask people that have had a journey in the industry. It's like, if you were chatting with a young shop assistant or a young person that's just getting in the golf business, and they have a passion for being in the club business, what are some of the habits that you feel that have helped you be successful along this way, and really help you today as a GM? Because what I just heard a minute ago was the importance of connecting with individuals and learning their stories, and making sure that you develop a relationship with every different person.
Yeah, and that will be back to in the UK when I started, as you've asked me, as a trainee on the shop floor, what was it like then? It was watching, learning, listening, seeing things, keeping an eye for detail. My wife is Asian, she's Vietnamese. And she taught me a saying when we first got together. She's used it with me many times since. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen more than you speak. Okay?
Yes.
Sometimes I think my wife has 2 mouths and 1 ear, but we'll leave that aside. But
we'll edit this out later, John. We'll edit that part out later.
Yeah, she won't see it. But no, it's just watching, learning, looking after the details. There's a saying in English, in England or in the UK. Look after the pennies, so look after the small things, and the pounds will take care of themselves. And that stuck with me my whole life, and it's part of my business sense as well. Look after the small things. Don't worry too much about the bigger, grander, greater things. We can all have ideas. I mean, there's only certain people who are going to be the founder of Tesla, the founder of Apple, and founder of something else. They're great people. I'm never going to be like them. But what I can do is look after the small things. If you look after the small things, so if I look after the details, the money will come in. The business will be good. We'll keep coming in and keep going back and doing the same things again and getting better at it, developing what you want. There's no magic formula to what you have to do. There is none. As much as we like to, so I've come back to the UK. I've got some of the places I've worked. I've got some older people who are directors of golf, and they will read books, and they'll read the management books. And I say to them, guys, once you get past 35, chuck those management books away, because if you don't know it by now, don't read it. You're not going to learn it. You need to be not learning from the book. You need to be learning by what you're doing, the things you do. Speaking, James, for you, when you came to Asia and speak at those conferences, listening to people, getting different ideas that you can do, how you can make things better, make things in a golf club in Asia. And it's very interesting. I don't know if you saw it, James, when you were out there. In Asia, golf clubs are fun places. Mm-hmm. People are there to have
100%.
Fun.
Yeah.
Even the most first class members private golf club, they're there to have fun. They're not stuffy places. So you have to learn to adapt to that environment. Now, interesting enough, coming back to the UK now, golf is on a bit of a cusp. It's actually changing. It's going away from the crusty golf clubs that we had before, becoming golf clubs like Lomond. This golf club is fantastic. It's the premier member golf club in the whole of the UK.
Yes.
Brilliant. However, our members want to have fun when they're here. They want to have fun. They don't want to have to dress up. We have a restaurant, a fine dining restaurant. They put a jacket on for that. Elsewhere, they can wear their jeans. They can wear their shorts. They can be on their mobile phones as long as they're not affecting other people. It's great for me because it's actually bringing what I know to the UK.
Well, and let's talk about that for a minute. Let's do a tangent. So lots of clubs, this is a generalized statement.
Yep.
Lots of clubs or lots of GMs or lots of boards struggle with, tradition and protection of tradition, and this is who we are and this is what we are, to, you can now wear shorts and talk on your phone if you're not disturbing someone else, right? And And I'm always surprised because in my travels, you'll come across a club where you think they would be embracing innovation and they're stuck in the past. And I'm not saying stuck in the past is a bad thing, by the way. There's
no, absolutely not.
It's very important to know who you are and what you want to be, and you don't have to be everything to everybody. So Loch Lomond, for goodness, that would not be a club I would think would be embracing, cell phones and jeans in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
You've got books behind you that are, 250 years old. So what process do you think that club has gone through, or what has been is it about the fact that we have to continue to evolve because we have a younger audience, because we have to attract new people to the game, because this is what people expect? I've always said, how can you expect to have a membership full of doctors if they can't have a cell phone with them?
Absolutely.
They're not going to come to the club and play golf if they can't be contacted in the middle of the day. They're a doctor, for goodness sakes. And I use that once again as a generalization. I'm not saying other people don't deserve to be contacted, but how does a club, do you think, John, go through that exercise? Or how do you think, what are some of the challenges and the successes of going through that process?
Loch Lomond and Wentworth was the same as well. I mean, Wentworth is changing. It's gone from being that the golf club where things were very rigid and everything else, and it's turned it. It's a golf club where people can wear jeans and wear shorts in the clubhouse. They can use the phones. They can look at emails. They can check things, because exactly as you said, they need to be in contact. If you want them coming in spending money, you might as well make it easy for them to come to the club, if that's what you want. But I think it's yes, it's looking to the future, but it's also knowing that cultures are changing. I mean, you look at people now in London, they go to the office. I mean, when I left London 30 years ago, the UK 30 plus years ago, everyone wore suits to go into the city. Nowadays, people are wearing jeans and shirts. It's changing. It is changing. Yes. When I was in Asia, Hong Kong used to be a very formal place where people wear suits. That's changed now. People go into the offices in maybe they've got a sports jacket on, but underneath that they've got their golf shirt and they've got some jeans on or something else. So things are changing, and so why should we expect them in their downtime to have to dress more than they do? And at Loch Lomond, I mean, the thing is, obviously we have 54 rooms here and we have 10 lodges, so it's spread over. You don't go to a hotel and tell them they can't wear this and that and that. Mm-hmm. So for us, our audience, we have to accept that. So when they come into it, allow them to come in. If they want to come into the restaurants anywhere else, we have one which is still traditional. It's our clan room, which is decked out in Scottish tartan, and we got antlers on the wall. We got paintings of William Wallace and everything else around there, and people love that. But they like to get dressed up once in a while to go to that restaurant. We've just renovated our Spikes bar, and we've built an extension on to have more dining, more relaxed dining. We've got an outside area now where people can sit by fire pits and enjoy the night air. And it's what your club is. What is a club? And it is evolving, I think, exactly as you're saying. I mean, I've seen the change when I was in Asia. It was a lot of family stuff. When I came back to the UK, I noticed, and maybe it was COVID, I came back during COVID, maybe coming back, it was actually seeing people coming with families. You want families to enjoy themselves. You want kids to enjoy themselves. Let them be themselves. But that was what it was for Wentworth and what it is for us. There are still some golf clubs, very traditional. They will stay that way. They will change in years because the majority of their members, maybe of a certain age, they don't want that yet. But with my board here, my board which I had at Wentworth, was the thing, they wanted to progress. They wanted to go forward. How do they attract? And also, Loch Lomond, we have 150 members from Scotland. We have 250 members from south of the border, so England and Wales, 100 from the US, and 100 from elsewhere in the world. With all that diversity, when they come here, you've got to embrace it.
Yeah.
And not one rule. It's got to be something that is good for everyone.
And so would it be fair to say, and I'm not going to, put words in your mouth and make assumptions, but would it be fair to say that you believe, that as a steward, as a GM of a club, especially private clubs, that you've got to embrace innovation. Like you can't just protect the past. I think like I've always said that we're not hired to, keep the status quo. Like I've always said, and more importantly, I don't want a job that is to keep the status quo.
Yes.
So you want to work somewhere where improvement and getting better and exploring new things and finding new ways to do things and innovation, right? I mean, that's way more fun than, we've been doing it that way for 20 years and we're not going to do it any different anymore. I mean, that's got to be a skill set, right? As when you see those, and here's my other point is that the GMs that I see that are getting opportunities, they are individuals that innovate. They're individuals that push the things forward. They're not, they do projects, they add amenities, they expand, improve bylaws. They don't sit there and just do nothing. Would that be
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you sit still, you'll be overtaken. So you got to keep pushing the bar, keep moving it upwards, keep looking at where you go forwards. I mean, one of the things, so obviously in Asia, when I was in Asia, golf was relatively new. So you when I was in Vietnam in 1995, it was the second golf course in Vietnam. And you had to, you're a golf missionary is what we call ourselves. You take it there and you've got to preach it, right, and talk it, and you've got to develop it, but you've got to keep on developing. So all my life I spent in Asia not thinking about it. It was just a natural thing to develop it. You right. Start here. How do you move it on? What's the next step? What's the next project? What are all these things? Right. We've got a new course. What can we add to it? What amenities? What things can we do? What events? Everything else you do. So that I lived that when I was in Asia for 30 years. So when I've come back, that is who I am now. That right. is John Blanch. I can't change myself. That's right. what I do. So that's why Wentworth and Lomond want John Blanch, because he's that type of person. He is that person who's going to go out and, right, Loch Lomond, I mean, the history of Loch Lomond, I mean, the golf club basically went, it was owned by a couple of individuals who got, basically their companies in the UK went bankrupt by the banks, and the members took it over. The members took this club over with their money, put it in. The banks wanted to sell it to someone else anyway. The members took it over, refinanced it, redid everything else. So it had this hard time going through. And so they went through this period of consolidation, trying to establish the monies and break even, paying off debt and everything else. They got through that, but then what's the next stage? And for me, I was lucky because the GM before me has left this wonderful thing. It's now a blank canvas because the board have come in and said, John, take us forward. We're right. now coming out of the trees. We need to go forward. So they're asking me, and at the moment I'm doing a strategic review of exactly where the club is and what I think they should be looking at for the next 30 years.
Do you think two things? One is, isn't it unbelievable that I think right now there's like 30 golf courses being built in Vietnam? It's the number one place in the world where golf courses being built. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
What's going on there. But getting back to what you just spoke about, strategic planning and going forward, I read an article this morning that was talking about, I don't know, I'll get my numbers wrong, but it's like, 70% average increase of private club annual fees, since COVID. There's 3.5 million more golfers that are green grass golfers that are playing and joining private clubs. And then more importantly, the message was about exactly what you said earlier, that these people are not just joining a club to get a tee time on a Saturday morning. They're joining for the experience and for the connection and for the food and beverage and the events and the pool and what other amenities they might have. But do you see, John, where, right now, if we made a generalized statement and talked about you buy a membership at a club, you put down your initiation, and then you pay your monthly dues or your annual dues, and you play as much as you possibly can. Well, pre-COVID, that was sustainable, but now we have water challenges and we have, environmental issues, and we have capacity challenges. And I always like to say, Mr. Jones that's narrowed down his price to $4 a round compared to Mrs. Smith who's paying $60 a round, and how does it all fit? Do you think that in the private club world it will move away from the pay your annual fee and fill your boots model into other different types of options? Because there's some clubs that are exploring that, and
Yeah.
some have been successful, but I also worry that club is, and this is a comment, by the way, from one of our listeners. So Scott, put this question, because we're kind of talking about it, from Miles. Thanks, Miles. Always great questions from Miles in Alberta. But what's your thought? Is there a right fit model, I guess, is the...
I don't think there is a right fit model. I think you had to find out what works for you. Know your environment, know what's around you, know what people want. I mean, at Lomond, we are very fortunate because we have these rooms. So our capacity is on people coming to stay, and also we only have 150 local members in Scotland. They have to be members of other golf clubs. Scotland's large, so a lot of them come from Edinburgh. It's 2.5 hours drive to come across here. So we're not going to get a lot of daily play. It's going to be more people coming to stay. So as well as the subs, we're getting things from, they come here, they're using our spa, they're using our country pursuits, they're doing hiking, fishing, boating. One of the things I want to do is bring out paddle. So I know you have pickle in North America. Paddle is something I want to introduce here. We have a wonderful spa, so we're getting people going there. So that's our model, and that's what suits us. But I think you need to know in your area what that is. And I mean, one thing I was going to go back to is the things that, because there is in the UK, there's demographic change, and I'm seeing it even from some of our members who are overseas as well, is what's the definition of exclusivity? Well, my chairman here is Sir Nigel Rudd. Sir Nigel is getting close to his 80s now. He was chairman of banks, chairman of aviation companies. He has his idea. Exclusivity is 5 people playing golf on a course a day, but that's changing. Exclusive to the newer breeder member, the younger person coming through. They want to be at a golf club that's vibrant. They want people around them. They want to hear noise. They have that. To them, exclusivity is not being quiet and not having people around. It's actually having people around, but knowing they have paid money to get into that, so that they know that they've paid the initiation fee, and someone is of the same level that they are and has paid the same thing. And so for them, that's
I would agree with. Yeah, sorry, I would agree with you so much in that regard, in the sense that, and I've always said this, the golf industry, we don't sell milk, right? We sell experiences, and isn't it fantastic that there's 1,000 different types of experiences,
Absolutely.
Like, and to some person, paying $800 to play Pebble Beach is worth it, or else they wouldn't be able to get it. They wouldn't be able to charge it. And I think getting back to what you said earlier on about, you just really have to know who you are and who your customer is, and have that story. This is why we do 150 rounds a day, or this is why we strive to do 50 rounds a day, or this is why we do 250 rounds a day, whatever it might be, right? Each club is going to be different. John, obviously it's not been all roses the entire way. You've probably had some challenges or some failures, some valuable lessons. Do you once again, if you're sitting around a fireplace talking to 9 future up and coming GMs, is there a story that you tell them, or is there an example that you give about? I've got 100 of them. I could write a book about all of the failures and challenges that I've come across in my time. But do you have one that you kind of use that helps you today?
I have a lot, and you learn from your failures, you learn from your mistakes, and there's stuff even today that I did 30 plus years ago that made me cringe in bed, my spine. Oh God, why did I do that? Cultural things I did going into Asia when I was fresh off the fresh off the boat into Vietnam, 1995. The country just opened up from it, very reclusive until 1992. It was almost like North Korea.
Right.
When I went in there as the boy. Oh, I know golf. I golf was invented. I come from the UK. You are going to love me. You must do it. And I changed the tee sheet. I changed the tee sheet. I said, right, we're going to do it this way. We're going to fit more tee times in. We're going to do. Oh my God, I caused some problems. I mean,
there was no stopping for lunch after 9 for an hour and a half. You were eliminating
and that's why my wife's saying to me, listen more than you speak. I went like a bull in a china shop. I went in. So it taught me the lesson of when you go in somewhere, take your time, look, listen, observe, find people who can be your mentors in that area, ask questions. Ask about this. I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? Now, at the end of the day, they may disagree, but at least you floated it and you can actually maybe amalgamate the idea and do it. And it's really understand the culture. I mean, the same here. When I came back to the UK, so I had 30 years after the UK, come back to Wentworth, I had actually never managed in the UK. I'd left as an assistant golf professional to teach golf in France and then go on to a different place. So I had no idea how to manage. All I knew was what I did when I was in Asia. That's what made me successful. That's what made the owners of Wentworth, who were Asian, they'd heard about me. That's what made them take me. So I made a decision. I'm going to run this club and run the staff the same way that I've run clubs in Asia. I'm going to make it a fun place to work. We're going to make people happy. I want my staff to smile from the heart. I will get to know them. I will show them that I work just as hard as they do. I will be there first thing in the morning. I'll be there at weekends. I'm there to support them. And really, they loved it because things had not been like that for a number of years in the UK. So jump on, I'm at Loch Lomond, I'm following exactly the same thing. I'm here in a traditional place. The staff, some of my staff have been here since the inception. They've been here 30 years. Wow. I'm coming in and I'm trying to bring a breath of fresh air to them. But in the same way as you were saying earlier, we'll keep it as it is. Our members and members all around the world, they're seeing technology day by day in their life, whether it be at work or in their home life with their TV sets and their acoustics and everything else. They're expecting the club that they're a member of to develop as well. So I don't think you have to go forward, but just take your care, take time, think about what you're doing. Lots culturally. I mean, in Vietnam in 1995. We had a member accused a caddy of stealing cash from their wallet in the bag.
Okay.
I decided with my marketing directors in America, we're going to speak to the caddy after the round and find out what went on. Oh my God. We nearly started a war that we couldn't handle because culturally that was unacceptable. Right. We didn't have and obviously Vietnam is a communist country. We didn't have a trade union official with us. And it was like telling that staff that he was a thief. We were only asking questions, but it was the wrong way to do it. And we acted too quickly, too fast. A week later, I had to get up in front of all the employees in the club and apologize to this person.
Wow. Yeah.
And it makes me shiver to this day. They could have actually said, right, you're out, you're gone, we're sending you back to the UK.
Right.
Luckily they didn't, because I wouldn't be here today if they had.
Well, I took so much from that, but the one thing that I really took from that is kind of that lesson that we tell when we talk about what is the best answer, when a board says, or when a potential employer says, tell us about your 30, 60, 90-day plan. You know, that's always one of the final questions in the interview process, right? Well, the answer to the 30-day plan is nothing, by the way.
Absolutely.
The right answer to that question is, in the first 30 days, I'm going to do nothing. I am going to listen. I'm going to observe. I'm going to ask questions, but I'm going to do nothing in the first 30 days.
Yeah, and the board turned around and said, I don't want you.
Yeah. But I tell people all the time, that is the right answer.
Absolutely. It is.
Then you go from there. Let's talk about, you're talking about being a leader, and you talk about the staff and getting the staff to get excited. And I read one of your blogs or an article that talked about your version of an organizational chart.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
James.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think when I first went to Asia in 1995. So golf in Vietnam was relatively new. I was working for a club called CCA, which was Club Corporation of Asia. It was an amalgamation of a German in Asia who coordinated with Club Corp from the States. The partnership only lasted a year, and then he kept the name. But he brought in a lot of GMs from the US. Now, I was young, so when I moved there, I was 29 years old. But the GMs coming in were all my age now, hitting 60.
Right.
And they came in. And a lot of those guys, and nothing against them at all, because I probably in the same situations, I would have done the same thing. But these guys were coming to Asia, no real experience, and thinking, hey, I'm coming here, I'm going to get tax-free packet. I only need to work for 5 years, and wow, I've bumped up my 501, and I'm in a good position to retire. So I saw people who would turn up to work, GMs turning up to work at 10 o'clock in the morning, going home by 3:30 in the afternoon, not working weekends, and you're in countries where you're trying to be a missionary and teach golf. You need to be out there all the time. So the staff would not follow them. I mean, the staff would come to me for direction and ask me things to do. So I took that observation. That came also when I moved from Vietnam to Philippines. I saw the same thing coming on. And I actually realized that what I can do, and for example, when I first went to Vietnam, I was the director of golf, and I was paid $4,000 in 1995. I was paid $4,000 US a month in cash, no tax. I had a car and a driver drive me to and from work.
Yeah.
I was given a house to live in. I was given tickets back to the UK to visit family. Oh, what a lovely life. And then I have staff who are only on 100 US a month.
Right.
It humbles you because you realize how lucky you are. And I realized at an early age that I needed to work hard. I needed to show them that I was part of them. I'm part of the team. I will help them out if they're in trouble. I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to shout and scream at them. I need to be their friend. I need to become part of their family, to give them encouragement, give them belief in what they're doing, because they never worked. I mean, how can a guy in Vietnam, there was no television, they couldn't watch the PGA Tour, they've never, what's the Masters? They wouldn't, no idea. Right. And they come into a golf club to work at. You've got to teach them everything. You've got to spoon feed them. And when they make mistakes, there are natural mistakes that anyone would make. And so that's why you can't take anything for granted. Never, even the words that you say can be misinterpreted in different ways in Asia. You just assume because they speak good English, oh, he must know everything, nuances and acronyms and all that. You can't. You have to really take it to basics. My English language is not as good as maybe it was 30 years ago, because I hear words now, oh, that's a good word, I'll use that. But they were, obviously, I had to take my knowledge down. But so...
John, if I may, real quick, like whether you're talking about a club in Vietnam or you're talking about your restaurant staff that have never worked in a fine dining restaurant before in your club in Santa Monica. Like the fact is that we're going to have people that come to work for us that don't know the experience, don't have a history, don't, like you said, they don't know, some of them don't even know what golf is, and yet they're working at a golf club. Yeah. So it's not just specific to the countries and to language. It's also just, and we talk about this with young people that have, spend all their time on their phone and have never dealt with communication and looking someone in the eye and giving someone a firm handshake. Well, that also is a challenge of lots of 19-year-olds. So the lesson about being with them and showing them the way, I think, is relevant in any part of the world, right?
Exactly, and again, that's why I said when I came back to the UK, that's how I wanted to do. I will be the same as I've done, and it was different because people, what's been put inside me culturally, work ethic, just seeing different things, made me what I am today, and I can't change that. I'm different. My brother and sisters, we used to think the same. Nowadays, we look at something, they'll see black, I'll see white. That's me. I've been affected by what I've seen, so I use that. But going back to the org chart, and I use this, and even today, for the last year and a half at Loch Lomond, I didn't have a PA, so my PA started today. I have a PA, and I found out, and I was talking to her about the org chart today, and telling her, look, the org chart, and I showed it to the agents. I turned it upside down. Look, I'm at the bottom. The most important people at the top of this org chart. They're the people who deal with the members on a daily basis. I may only see one member 50th of the time that they would do. Yes. Some I wouldn't see at all. And as you go down that org chart, all the people in there have less opportunity to affect what is happening on a daily basis. But the way I see it is, I'm here to support you. That's great. We're there to support you. But what I see is, if something goes wrong at the top line, that's me. I look at myself, before I look at them, what could I as GM have done to make that not happen? And I take responsibility and ownership of the problem, because is it they don't have the training? Is it they're not supported by the layer below them? Is it that layer? Where is it? What caused it to fall through the cracks? And really, I just love to do that. I love to see that. And even at Loch Lomond, I've had instances where something has gone wrong, and you just take it, bring the staff in, and just have a chat with them. Just talk about, right, what happened there? Okay, what happened? And break it down for them, why the reaction of the member was a certain way. And often it is just something that we did simply wrong. Okay, and it was because of something I did there. And I can learn, and then I have to empower upwards to get those people to empower up to the top level.
I think our next question, it's about training, and I say it because when you talk about that, you taking responsibility, like you said, like what could I have done, right? What could I have done? And there's you can do training you can train forever and ever and ever. It doesn't mean you're going to solve every situation, but I do find, obviously, and I'm biased, I'm completely biased and prejudiced, so I'll say it out loud.
We all are.
But I do find that in the golf industry, right, we are not known to have significant training methods and significant training. Clubs don't have training, but I mean, there's lots of clubs that don't have training as a line item in their budget. They how many hours have you allocated to Steven before he sits on a $40,000 machine? Well, hopefully we're going to show him before he starts. But why do you think that training, I guess, or sometimes the development of people is maybe not always it's not always invested in, I guess. Or do you believe that? Do you see that yourself?
No, I see that myself, James. I totally do. I mean, I think companies, I think golf clubs probably a lot as well. Let's just save. Let's just save money. We didn't need to spend, and it costs money. That's what I mean. You take care of the penny, the pounds will come in. You spend a little bit of money training someone, it will bring in, the return on that is huge. But it's very hard to explain that, to show that, because it's intangible. It's not something you've invested in someone, but you can't actually see it. But you've got to believe it. I mean, an example. When I was I was working in Suzhou in China. So my family and I came across to visit a friend of mine who was working in Jupiter, Florida. He was working at a golf club called Hillcrest. So we went to Orlando with our families. He was my golf director in the Philippines. So we met up, our families grew together. We went to Orlando, going around Disney, and went around, and there was this, as they do in the summer parks, and there's this girl, she had Chinese on there. So we were in China. So asking her a question, where do I go for this and this? And this girl knew everything. She knew everything. You need to go here. The turkey steak is over this way. This is where you go. So I said to her, how long have you been here? She said, well, I've been here a month. I said, well, yeah, okay, you've been a month out front. How long have you been with Disney? She said, a month. And this girl knew of it. And that Disney trained their staff. As we know, Disney trained their staff. Smile, you're on show. Go out there. The staff are the ones delivering the show to the people. You need to invest in them to do it. So yes, it is, but also it's investing wisely, not for the sake, not spending money to send them to some conference that's not going to help them at all. Really, as leaders, we need to look in and think about where we're going to send them. What do we want them to do? What are the traits we want them to learn, and find the things that work. And often it may not be something in golf.
And have you found some technology? You know, I'm not going to, besides Golf Industry Guru, have you found any kind of technology or any kind of silver bullet out there that kind of is helping with your, training your people or getting things, that are accomplishing those things for yourself or for the clubs in the UK?
No silver bullet. I wish there was, and I don't think there is. As I was saying earlier, there's nothing that beats hard work and thinking about it, working out. I mean, training needs to be fun.
Yes,
needs to be fun. People remember it. People remember the fun times they have. So need to make it, and it needs to be delivered with passion, not a classroom where this is point number one, point number two, point number three. No, just interaction as well. I mean, I like to get involved in training myself. I will personally train people to what I want them to do, and I will spend time to do it. Even to this day, yes, it's not great value in the general manager of the club going down and do it, but it is, because the staff will appreciate it. They will see you as a leader. They will give, and in Asia, you did that to them. You're giving that knowledge. They'll do anything for you.
Do you have caddies at Loch Lomond, John?
Yeah, we do. We do. Yes.
And, obviously, they're
not as pretty as the ones in Asia.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And so, in the UK and Asia, obviously, caddies is a great part. And training caddies, our good friend Graham, Graham Curry does some training of caddies in the UK and is getting in a very smart opportunity to get in the caddy training business, because the caddy, you talk about the frontline experience for the tourist guest that's playing Loch Lomond on a bucket list experience of their entire life. I mean, that 4 hours that they're walking around with that caddy can make or break that day. And I know lots of my friends that have come back from playing golf in parts of the world. We don't have caddies in North America, obviously. James Cooley's got a question there about the golf experience. Do you adhere to the, do you think that the golf experience at some places in other parts of the world would benefit from having caddies, I guess?
Absolutely. Yeah. It really does. I mean, for example, yesterday at 4:10, I teed off on the old course. So I drove 2.5 hours. A friend of mine got the ballot, and he said, John, do you want to go? Yes. I got in my car and drove there, and I had a caddy. He didn't have a caddy. My experience was far greater. I was walking around. I was seeing things. I was getting told stories, different ideas. He's telling me the lines now, and especially the old course, you don't know where you're going. You might as well be hitting into the ocean at some holes, because you're saying, don't hit it down the center of the fairway. You're going to go in some bunkers there. Aim for that gorse bush on the left.
Right.
I mean, one hole, we're out on the 15th hole, and that you can see the town of St Andrews behind. And he said, just aim for the steeple. I said, which steeple? There's about 20 of them out there. You said, "I'll tell you after you hit it," but no, totally. It really is a thing. In Asia, it made such a difference, and really would do. And I'd spend time when I was at IMG going around different clubs, training caddies, the experience, and another thing that So, Loch Lomond is owned by the members. All the clubs I worked at before have all been proprietary owned. And they would be the owners, we sort of think, who wouldn't really want to spend a lot of money on training. So our members at Loch Lomond 5 years ago were given a list of things for future development. The number one thing they chose was to build a caddy shack. They had one which was run down, was used for the previous 25 years. They built a caddy shack.
Right.
Out of their own money, £1.5 million to build
Wow.
it. This thing has locker rooms that are better than 90% of the golf clubs in the UK.
Love that.
They have a pool table. They have 2 televisions. They have a kitchenette. They have a place where they can dry it rains a bit in Scotland. They have a place where they can dry their clothes. They love it. They now, because of that, they go out, they got a smile on the face. I mean, one caddy said to me, "John, for the last 3 years, I always turn up half an hour late for work. Now I turn up 2 hours early and I leave 2 hours late. I have 3 showers a day. My wife can't believe how clean I am."
Yeah.
Because they love it. So they're going out. And our members, there's no return on that investment monetary for our members, but there is emotionally, because their caddies are far more engaged, far more happy. They keep the place clean. It's spotless.
That's a great story. That's a story you want to tell other clubs about how they, I say this all the time. You'll spend 30 grand on bunker sand, but you won't spend 3 grand on training your leaders or training your staff or whatever it might be, or thanking them or rewarding them or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. But, we're in the people business, and like you said, that's a great example. We got a little bit of time left, and I want to tangent off a little bit, John, because you have, been responsible, but you have hosted. You have been at clubs that have hosted significant events, significant major golf events, globally around the world, and we all know, some. If it's the men's and women's club championship or the club championship, or if it's the event we've got at the end of the summer, or we're hosting a bigger event, is there anything that you've kind of learned about, a skill that you've really had to kind of, besides delegation and time management and all those other types of things, is there anything that you really kind of learned in the doing the events business, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, in Asia, I had the Vietnam Open in 1997 in Vietnam. I had 2 Philippine Opens. I've had a club where I had the Volvo China Open. Other events, Thailand, I had the Thai Open 3 times at the club, and at Wentworth, it's coming up soon. The BMW, I had 3 BMW PGA Championships, which is the flagship event on the DP World Tour, or the European Tour, as we would think of it. I always strove, because one of the things I saw when you get into some, often there's a promoter, there's the tour, and everyone ends up fighting together, but at the end of the day, you're all working for a common good. You want the tournament to be the best it is. So I always, any tournament, professional event I'm at, I want to make it so the players go away and will say, "Wow, that was the best week I had. Yes, we may not have had the best practice facilities, but we were treated so well." Also, why do you have tournaments? It's media coverage. Look after the media.
Right.
Give them a fantastic. I've done it in Vietnam. I've done it elsewhere. Bring food into them. Bring other food into them. In Thailand, we would take afternoon tea into them. We did a peninsula tea, their famous peninsula for tea. We took tea down to the media. We had cakes on them. They would spend all days on the cookie jars, getting out cookies and sweets and everything else. When we were when I was at Wentworth, we had a champagne breakfast. every day. We'd have champagne and we'd serve them scrambled eggs and salmon and other things. We'd have afternoon tea as well, because we want them to go away thinking great, that when they're writing their piece, they'll be more than happy to mention the golf club rather than just saying the BMW at Wentworth. Right. Fantastic. Because so I think it's trying, and often it's hard because you've got golf associations in China, you've got the golf association, you've got the owner, you've got the players, but dragging all those people together, not fighting over, oh, well, you can't do that, you can't want that. No, our club's this, our club's that. Let's knock down the barriers. We're all the same. We're all going to join. I love tournaments. I love it for my staff because it's breaking them out of the daily thing. How can you have an event, get it on? They will love it. They will do the work. They'll make it happy because it's taking away from what they've done day in and day out. So I think really the thing is make it as enjoyable for the players, spectators, the promoter, the press. You'll enjoy it more yourself. And I mean, it's great. I mean, tournament week, I'll be up there 5 o'clock in the morning, going out, checking on the greenkeeping team. I'll be the last person to leave the clubhouse at night. Who cares? As my wife said, there's enough time to sleep when you die.
Yeah. So thank you, John. I love that. And we've had so many great comments, and things we haven't been able to get to. I love it. Thank you, Crystal Hamilton, for your great stuff. And Crystal's got a great training platform with technology called Nobi. And some others with Miles and James and so many others. I really appreciate it. I couldn't get to all of the listeners and their comments. But I did want to ask you kind of one final question, John, which is where I kind of started, which was that if I was 19 again and I was getting into the business again, and I've been very lucky to travel the world and one of the things that I always say is what's great about our business and the hospitality business and the club business is that we all sing from the same song sheet. It doesn't matter what country you're in, it doesn't matter what language you're speaking. We all understand the wonderful aspects of this industry and the challenges of being in this industry. But I love the idea of, and it's not as easy anymore to be a global GM trotting around the world. There's more, which is a great thing. There's more in Asia in particular. There's more Asian individuals, that are local that are becoming GMs of clubs, which is fantastic. That's what we want. We want to have people in their own area become the leaders of their teams. But what advice would you give someone that wants to kind of, to look at opportunities or to experience other? You've said so many things already today, but listening and being aware and culture and things like that. But is there any other kind of final advice you'd give?
Yeah, I think if you're thinking about going away to work somewhere and you want to go overseas, don't just sit in your hometown and send your CV in. Deliver it by hand. Go out there, see the places, show that you're willing to do it. Look at any opportunity. Is there a chance? I mean, I've spoken to the PGA of the UK and I've spoken to PGA of America. We're doing stuff. Get internships at some of these clubs. It's a great opportunity because I was lucky. I'm the most fortunate guy in the world. It's by the stars, the moon, everything. The opportunity that I had when I went, exactly as you said. Nowadays, there is the local people who are coming out, and people like myself and James Quilley, who's working with you. Our job was to train those people because you don't want to have expats all the time. But there's still opportunities out there because there's more, as you said, 30 new golf courses in Vietnam. Thailand is still banging them out there. It's still going to happen, and often clubs want an expat rather than the local. They feel it adds prestige to the product. So it's take the opportunity to go out there and show yourself, meet people. Office, can I come and work at your club for 6 months? I will do it. Just give me accommodation. I will come and help out. Learn it, because that then is on your CV or your resume. It's there. It's tangible. Mm-hmm. It's something there. You've shown a commitment to going out there. And I've done, people ask me all the time, what shall I do now if I want to do that? And people have gone out to Asia, send them to golf clubs. There are GMs who are out there at the moment. Hong Kong, there's Peter Downey. I think you would have met Peter. Peter will take any PGA professional and give them a 6-month contract to work at his club. Mm-hmm. That is hands-on experience, and you get to learn about cultures. Learn about
I will tell our listeners, and if you happen to be in Canada, reach out to Scott Kolb and Envoy Golf. They have a exchange program for agronomy and golf shop people for Australia. I sometimes get some general managers from other parts of the world that ask me if I know any young, North Americans to come and work in their part of the world, because like you said, John, they do like to be able to incorporate some of the best practices, and often, those best practices originate in the United States and in Canada, and they're looking for that kind of information. But John, it was wonderful to have you. Thank you so much. What a fascinating journey you've had. So many great takeaways for our listeners. I really, really appreciate that. And we're going to have to make a trip and come visit. And
please do, James. And
I've been very lucky to see a lot of places, but I've never seen Scotland, John. So
yeah, brilliant. Well, you got to. It's fantastic. You're full. This place is the most beautiful place in the world. Loch Lomond is. God couldn't have dreamed of it in his best dreams. We've got a loch. It's the biggest body of water. We got a loch that's 24 miles long, 5 miles wide. At one point, it's 640 feet deep. It's deeper than the North Sea in places. You can empty the loch. You can take all the water out, take all the water from England, all the streams, all the lakes, everything, fill the loch, and there'll still be room for more water.
Wow.
And we got scenery, we've got mountains around us as well. So it's a stunning place. It's really is heaven. So after all my long career, maybe it's where I'm due to end up. Although my life, my travels will never change. I always want to help people. So it's been a pleasure to share my thoughts, share my journey. I never got to say all the countries I worked in as well, but we can talk about it sometime, James.
We can do part 2, John. 100%. We'll do part 2. I really appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Thanks, James.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on today's live Q&A call. We'll see you again next month with another fantastic guest. Until then, as always, we will see you on the inside.